Kevin Michael Schmitz here, and I am a celebrity fashion photographer. I photograph major ad campaigns, whether it's for Burberry or Giorgio Armani, and I also have been published in over 200 magazine editorials worldwide. And I'm also a TV director, executive producer, and host of the TV show Great Escapes that airs on CBS. And I'm here to go in depth about photographic mastery. Now, this is something that all photographers, everybody out there that photographs and takes creates images, they all want to achieve mastery. Now, what is mastery? Essentially, it's creating content, it's creating photographs that can literally stand the test of time, images that are impactful, images that are going to be powerful, images that are going to be iconic, and creating content that can be very, very marketable, whether it's for yourself, whether it's for branding campaigns, whether it's for companies, whether it's to sell magazines, whether it's the cover of a magazine, or whether you're a fine art photographer and creating photographic mastery where it's a fine art image that is just can last the test of time. So today we're going to go in depth about photographic mastery and what that means, and essentially how to achieve an incredible world-class photograph at the highest level. Now, of course, we do go in depth about all different aspects of photography, whether you want to master landscape photography or fine art photography, or you want to master portraiture or weddings. Today, I'm going to focus mostly on photographing people and how to master a large scale production. So, some of you guys have been on a shoot like that, and some of you haven't, but we're going to be talking about a 20 to 30 person production team photo shoot, something where we're working with world-class top stylists, world-class top models that are flown in from New York, LA, Miami. And we're going to be discussing this, not only myself, but also we're going to bring in some panelists that just worked with me on set as well. We just got off an incredible production on the East Coast, and we shot some world-class fashion lifestyle and slice of life advertising photography. And it was an unbelievable story. So I'm really excited to share this content with you guys and really get you guys engaged in how you can create this content at the highest level. So first and foremost, before my amazing panelist comes on, the great Shannon Bright, I do want to actually showcase some of the content that we've shot over the years that I feel is absolute photographic mastery. Now, of course, it's up to everybody's interpretation of what they think is amazing photography. But generally, when we think of a world-class photographic mastery, we think of award-winning images. We think of content that, the image is so strong that you could blow it up on a giant canvas on a wall and it can stand by itself. Content that can get published, content that demands attention. So we're going to be showcasing some of this content, some of the content that I'm really proud about. This is, we're going to start off by some of the fashion content. We're going to get into more of the lifestyle content as well. And these images I'm going to be showcasing to you are all images we created with the Photography Workshop series over the last couple of years, and also shot on location, whether in New York, LA, at the Virginia Equestrian Lifestyle Experience, Newport Beach, or we're shooting in Chicago, Las Vegas, et cetera, all these amazing locations. And we're going to be talking a little bit about how we created these, what it takes to create photographic mastery. Now, this image right here, I believe this was done by an amazing photographer named Devin Mickens, a world-class photographer that came to us and we started working together. And I'm really proud of all the content that Devin created. But at this production, I wanted to kind of disclose to you guys how we made all this magic happen. From shooting on a rooftop with an incredible skyline over New York, shooting with this unbelievable, crazy huge dress, and to make it look larger than life. I mean, it looks like she's, 9 feet tall, which is kind of cool. And then working with this top supermodel that, is like a Vogue top model. So we want to talk about how we actually created this, and also how you can do it, what you can do to start creating content at this level. Okay, so first and foremost, I'm going to talk about my step-by-step process. And what I mean by that is, when we're doing a shoot, it's not just like, oh yeah, like I'm going to walk out there with my camera and just start photographing. It takes a lot of planning. And as you can tell, with images like this one or images like this, where we shot this at our Elite Masterclass with parachutes and airplanes and unbelievable story that we published in Number 8 magazine, or we're shooting out in the desert with a giant scaffolding, or photographing with this unbelievable gold eagle wings and attire out in the desert in Las Vegas. Or we're shooting at a water studio with giant parachutes and wind blowing and creating this unbelievable story over water. But all of these images, they all have something in common, right? And by the way, all these images you're looking at, these are all art directed, produced and directed by me, and photographed by our attendees at the Photography Workshop Series, which is pretty awesome. And some of you guys that are on right now have photographed these images, which I'm really proud about and really excited that I get to see a lot of familiar faces on this amazing webinar. So step one is going to be conceptualizing your photo shoot. Okay. Now, what that means is coming up with the idea, coming up with the concept of the story that you want to tell. And now I don't care if it's fashion, if it's lifestyle, if it's even if it's you're trying to tell like a documentary story, all of that entails creating a concept, right? Now, for me, my methodology with doing this is I really love to create content that is, really, I would say timeless and classic. And I love that, right? Things that are timeless and classic. But I also want to create, I want to come up with ideas that I can pitch. Magazines, I can pitch to brands. And one of the things I absolutely love to do is create Pinterest boards. And I'm going to showcase my Pinterest page here. And I recommend you guys do this as well. So I have all kinds of amazing Pinterest boards here. I've got quite a few of them listed here. And as you can see, those are all from different photo shoots, different inspiration, whether it's for my 49-room 13th century French dream castle, to lifestyle stories, to swim stories with Sports Illustrated, to fashion. And also I'm collaborating on these concept boards with other photographers, ones that I work with, and create something together. So for instance, we came up with this amazing desert fashion story. This was a Mike Wylett story that he conceptualized and created some of these concepts that we were, envisioning, and shooting things like out in the desert and big flowing dresses and color and, and going for things like this, which I absolutely love. Coming up with concepts where they all align with a similar cohesive feel. Another one was, this is another one we did for our Elite Masterclass, where we conceptualized a Mad Max story. And Mike Wylett had also put this together, conceptualized this whole Mad Max story for our Elite Masterclass. And it was awesome. It was such a cool story. And it all started out as this concept board, right? It all started out where we're coming up with ideas, whether it's the vehicles, whether it's the wardrobe, whether it's maybe poses, all the crazy cool stuff that you see here, right? And these are, images that are going to be guiding not only me, but also guiding my wardrobe stylist, my hairstylist, my makeup artist. It's guiding our model casting, all of the things that it's coming together. I'm starting off within some inspiration images. So I like to look at a few different places. I like to, I love Pinterest. Pinterest is one of my favorite, even if you're Google imaging things. I also like to look at some of the best photographers in the world, right? And I like to look up, there's some websites that I recommend you guys, that you guys also go after, which is lebook.com, workbook.com. Those are all fantastic, essentially really, really fantastic source books where you can find some of the greatest photographers in the world, and you can type in different campaigns and they can come up, or different magazine editorials and they can come up. So if you guys have any questions about that, feel free to ask them. One of my, I'm going to actually put some of the links on there, like lebook.com, workbook.com. These are websites where I put it in the chat, where they're essentially source books where you can find and look up photographers and look up some of the best stuff happening right now. So I love that. I love that. Now, with these inspiration boards, of course, we start off with the concept boarding, right? And I love this. I mean, what Mike came up with was pretty fantastic. And we came up with all these ideas that he had put together. Now I'm like, all right, this is great. We start off with a Pinterest board. Now, once we get a Pinterest board of say 30 images that we just love, I'm then going to have you guys think about, okay, well, let's pick out maybe the top 6. And then, in here, like, you know what, I really like this one with the girl. This is amazing one. Maybe this one where she's kind of kneeling down in the desert. Maybe some of the ones with the vehicles, some of these cool vehicles right here, and kind of like thinking about some of this crazy cool stuff. Now, this is a pretty avant-garde thing, right? But I'm then gonna put together what we call a creative brief. Now, some of you guys have done that. They're on right now. And this is a creative brief that we put together, and Mike came up with this, and then I essentially refined it a little bit. And this is an example of a brief. Now, this is my conceptualizing process, guys. Now, no matter what it is, if it's fashion, it's lifestyle, it's portraits, it's weddings, it's fine arts, documentary, whatever, I love doing this process. Now, this is a really avant-garde story. And I love this because I'm telling the story. There's like a 1-paragraph story of what Mike wanted to tell. Then there's a series of images that go along with it, and then who the talent is, who the director of photography is, the creative director, what the location looks like, the wardrobe, the props, all of those details. And I'm really interested because now when I'm approaching a magazine, right, and I'm or even a client, say it's a commercial client, and I want to make sure that they understand the story that I'm trying to tell, what better way to do it than showcasing it in an inspiration creative brief just like this. And I love this. This is such a cool way of doing it, because once you have that creative brief story, it now illustrates exactly what the storyline is going to look like, right? And I love this because you can start off with the concept board. We can then move into essentially the creative brief. And then this also helps when we actually go on set and we're photographing something. It also helps guide how I want to pose the models, how I want the story to look, all of that, right? And I think that's really important and valuable. And I want to make sure that, we're creating content that's going to wow and dazzle a magazine and get that magazine to, go ahead and book us. I mean, that's the whole point. So if I send, say, 3 creative briefs over to a magazine and, and they can say, hey, yeah, A, B, or C, which one are you most interested in, right? And then we can get down to the final story, okay, of what this all comes together, how this all looks when it all comes together. And this is really exciting because you guys are looking at the creative brief and you're seeing the story right now of what this, our images and kind of what we wanted to shoot. And then we go into the actual production, and this is what the shoot finally looks like. All started from inspiration, then went to creative briefs. Now we're putting it into action and photographing and filming. This is all shot by the attendees, this unbelievable Mad Max fashion story that I found really, really interesting and totally over the top. Now, we do this no matter what you're doing, whether it's fashion, lifestyle, swim, whatever. I recommend you guys doing this. And this kind of shows the final putting it all together, right? And you can see the connections between what we initially conceptualized, then how we refined it, to then going into that final shoot. And I think that's really, really exciting. So anyway, that's just kind of a little step-by-step of how I come up with inspiration. And I love doing that because conceptualizing the photo shoot, that's the most fun part. Now, I highly recommend you guys do that, not just go out and do photo shoots without a plan in mind. Come up with some ideas. Put it into action. And I've come up with so many cool creative ideas, and so have our photographers over the year, where it's tribal fashion, whether it's, like we just did that last, this past year, we did a tribal fashion story, totally over the top, where, we had, feathers and leather and animals and all this unbelievable stuff. And we created this epic content, or we put together these conceptualized stories at an airfield and creating these amazing stories where this airfield started off as a concept board. Then it went into creative brief. Then it went into a story and then got published. So it's a step-by-step process of how to create photographic mastery right here, guys. This is how we're doing it, creating photographic mastery. So this is really exciting. It's really fun. And the best part about this, it's really fun to take part in, to be a part of it, and have your creative vision come to life, which I love. And that's what Photography Workshop Series is all about. Now, we also have some really cool experiences that when you're walking on set like this, for you to even have the experience of shooting at a scale of this magnitude with top supermodels from Vogue and shooting with 1940s fighter planes and photographing this unbelievable story that wins major awards, by the way, it totally can transform your entire photographic career. And that's what I get really proud about. And that's what Photographic Mastery is all about. For instance, we've won about 185 photographic awards, including the One Island Awards, Lurser's Archive, Communication Arts, Color Awards, all in the last 2 years, all by our incredible photographers that have attended our incredible workshops. So one of the cool things I do recommend is that the value of coming to this epic workshop experience with us is that not only will we guarantee you're going to photograph some of the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime, but also you're going to have an opportunity to command the set that is, and also conceptualize, create, design, and then photograph the greatest images you've ever shot in your life that you're a part of, that you're being completely involved with, and you're directing these top models. And most importantly, when you're shooting something at this scale, the sheer cost of this production is astronomical. You know, these are, to do productions like this, it's anywhere from $80,000 to $100,000 a day. You know, between, you know, the hair, the makeup, the wardrobe, the permits, the locations, the all aspects of the catering, from the location fees, from getting RVs, motorhomes, assistants, all, you know, whatever, stylists, the wardrobe buying fees, all the equipment, all the cost. You know, it's astronomical. Just like when I'm doing a big budget, massive scale advertising campaign, this is at that same scale, if not bigger, which is pretty awesome. So that's one of the awesome things about the photography workshop series, is that essentially the level and scale of what you guys get to experience is pretty next level, which I get really excited about, obviously. So I love it. I love you guys just giving the opportunity to just be, oh my gosh, I can't believe I just had access to shoot a production at this level, right? Now, I love this. I love this. And I get really excited about it, obviously, but I also, our photographers get really excited about this. And this is something that's really, really special. And, you know, before I get into some of the next aspects from my step-by-step process, I want to bring on an amazing panelist who, her name is Shannon Bright. And Shannon, by the way, is a world-class photographer in her own right. Okay. Shannon, she is a photographer that she's actually been published in Elle magazine. She's been published in some major publications, I think Glamour magazine. She's a world-class photographer already. And Shannon is actually came to our most recent photographic workshop just like 2 weeks ago. And I'm actually going to showcase some of her content right now. And she's a world-class photographer. I'm really proud of some of the content that Shannon has created. And Shannon, it's good to see you. And you're already a world-class photographer, so I'm really, you know, excited to have you come and attend the experience. You've already created some photographic mastery. Why don't you tell us a little bit about, you know, the experience that you had? We just did our Virginia Equestrian Lifestyle Workshop just 2 weeks ago, and you attended. You had that amazing experience, and then you did a one-on-one with me afterwards. And tell me about your experience, and, you know, do you feel like your photographic mastery has increased since that, or during and since that experience?
Hey, Kevin. Yes, I definitely do. I had never been to a production of that size and caliber in my life, and I've produced quite a few shoots on my own, and so I do know a bit about, you know, what goes into producing a shoot, especially with having like a major magazine in mind for publication, you know, all the details that go into that. So I was so impressed, first of all, from start to finish, with really with everything from getting there, meeting the other people, just the caliber of the models, the wardrobe, everything was absolutely amazing, truly. So, and the images, oh my God, the images. Yeah, I have so much respect for what goes into a production of that size now. Personally, I had never photographed really more than 2 people. So when you start bringing in, you know, multiple models and animals and all the things that we were so blessed to be able to work with. It's a whole nother level for sure.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up because, your work is stunning and you're a world-class photographer. We just looked at your work and your big publications in Elle Magazine and stuff. But the big difference, though, is that they're single model scenes. And what I feel like if you want to get into the big commercial advertising industry, which it sounds like you do, and you want to shoot those $100,000, per day campaigns, one thing that's really important is to have multiple model scenes. And that's hard to do. It's expensive to do. It's hard to have access to, to multiple models at that caliber. And then also, most importantly, is the art direction and the storytelling. So we're looking at some of your images now, and I'm wowed and dazzled. I mean, these are unreal. They're wearing like, $1,800 Zimmerman dresses. They're shooting at a multi-million-dollar estate in Virginia. But it's classy. There's great energy, there's great feeling, there's great emotion. It looks natural. It looks like I'm in that moment with those models having an experience. Tell me a little bit about that whole lifestyle experience that I know you're a little bit newer to. Why don't you tell me about how that felt and what was like art directing those scenes?
Yeah, that was amazing. Just the energy that has to be present when you're shooting lifestyle is so different from shooting fashion. And so the art direction was so crucial. And I mean, you were amazing. You just got everybody set up in the right place and we're just like counting them down and they were just coming. I mean, of course, the model selection was fabulous, but yeah, I really did not have an appreciation for just the difference in energy, the movement, just really the whole vibe of the shoot is very, very different. So, and you're not only art directing, one person, but potentially 3 to 5 people, and you have multiple things going on, like models in the background, and you're art directing them to dance and twirl and have fun. And then you've got the model in the foreground and you're like, play the guitar and do this, or, lead this llama around in the background. So, I mean, it's absolutely amazing, truly.
Yeah, it really dynamic. And then what you mentioned, the animals, that kind of brings in a whole nother level of challenge in production.
Yes.
But that was pretty awesome. You got to shoot with llamas. I think we had like baby goats. We had horses. We shot with at an equestrian center. Unbelievable production. And of course, the animals don't always cooperate. So it's also pretty impressive that we're able to shoot these scenes with multiple models, getting all of them in the right pose, but then also making sure that the horses or the llamas or, the other animals are all being art directed properly too. Shannon, tell me a little bit about maybe the aspect of art direction, because that's something that obviously there was a lot of that at this workshop. I would say that was one of kind of the specialties of this workshop. Was there anything about the art direction side of it that you feel like you learned or you grew from, or that you noticed at that experience?
Definitely. I mean, I had never art directed a scene or any scenes that were like this before. So I think just knowing ideally how to, or learning how to have multiple models, some interacting in one scene, and keeping in mind where they are in the frame, their energy levels. I think just really from start to finish, what goes into that. I was so impressed.
Awesome. Yeah. And as far as the process to create photographic mastery, what do you feel like, what was important to you in this process? Because, you've done this kind of thing before, but was there anything different about this process that you feel like kind of helped you gain more photographic mastery throughout this process?
Absolutely. I mean, just being able to see you on set and how you would prompt the models, get their energy right. I mean, I think that's such a key part of it all in the art direction for lifestyle photography. Is it's really all about that energy and being in that moment. So if you don't create that as the photographer and art director, then your photos are going to be really flat. You know, your clients aren't going to feel that energy. And that's really what you're selling in lifestyle is you're selling them that mood, right? I mean, yeah, it's great that they have these Zimmerman dresses on but you want to sell that moment, that you can capture this moment in time. So I think for me, that art direction process was completely new. I had never photographed models and put them into that type of energy level and interaction and things like that. I mean, everything I had done previously was much more posed, and you know, if they were moving, it was minor and it was slower and just all those components. So yeah, I mean, the art direction is really the thing I walked away from, I think, learning the most, because you know, if you have beautiful people in front of your lens, most photographers can get a great shot of them. But I quickly learned that art directing a scene with multiple models and animals and props and all of that really requires a whole nother level. And I'm not there, but I feel like I got a great introduction to it. And I certainly got to see you in action, which was great, because I felt like a sponge. I was just kind of soaking everything in. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely something that you cannot do on your own if you haven't been to a workshop like this. I mean, I don't know how you could walk out and produce a shoot and get these kinds of emotions and energy and photographs if you hadn't been to something like this. So I never could have done it. I can speak for myself. I can't say that no one else could do it, but I certainly couldn't have done it. I mean, even from looking at ads in magazines, I would not have been able to go out and recreate that. So
Totally. Well, I mean, you're an incredibly talented photographer already, and you already know how to produce big shoots. But this, I think, took you to another level, another echelon in what you're capable of. And I think that what's great about that is that's something that you need to market. That's something that you need to showcase to these clients of yours and potential clients, is that, hey, I am capable of doing something at this scale. You showcase content like this, which is what we call your photographic currency, which is even more valuable in, you know, as a photographer than financial currency, because now you're showcasing content like this to major ad agencies, to major modeling agencies, to major photographic agents. They're going to be a lot more interested in being opened up to working with you on a regular basis. It kind of is the key to all of that. So I'm really excited for you, Shannon. And I'm really proud of the stuff that that you've created, because this is really next level content. What's next for you? What are your goals photographically, and you know, with what you're going to do in your photography going forward?
well, I mean, like you said, I was lucky enough to be able to do a one-on-one with you following the Virginia workshop. So that was incredibly helpful. We really kind of made a to-do list for me and my businesses in trying to you know, create a separate lifestyle brand first and foremost, get my website squared away and up and running. And then, you know, really just focusing on that amazing content. You know, I got a good start, but, you know, I don't have that 40 image cohesive body of work that, you know, we talk about all the time. So really just being able to get that amazing content in, you know, that's really where I'm focusing right now. I'm going to France with you in September, which I'm super excited about. So I'll be able to work on the fashion side of my book. But yeah, I mean, to me, really, I don't know of another place that you can go and get the caliber of images that I walked away with from Virginia. So, so I'm excited about France, but, you know, I think it's just really for me, that content building. And then when I feel like I'm in the right spot to start reaching out to clients. So.
Yeah. Well, and what Shannon's mentioning is that she's attending our French Dream Castle experience. And as many of you guys know, I own a 49-room 13th century palace in France. and we are holding a world-class high-end fashion production there this September. Shannon's going to be attending, and it is going to be a world-class production. It's something where we're going to be bringing elite costuming, high-end fashion brands and fashion designers. We're going to be bringing models, top models in from Milan and Paris, and it's a 6-day experience. Shannon, I believe you're bringing your son, right?
Yeah.
This experience. So a lot of the photographers are bringing a guest. So that's an option as well, which I do highly recommend. And it's an absolutely incredible experience. So this gives you some of the, the concepting and also the castle of what we're going to be doing, which is really, really special. So I'm excited about that. Now, if you guys are interested in any of these experiences, including the French Dream Castle, definitely let us know. And I also wanted to talk a little bit about Shannon. We talked about your photography, but what I'm also interested in is, what do you want to do next in video? Because, at the workshop, you also were able to direct and camera operate drones with filming video. And actually, here's some content of you photographing. This is some aerial drone stuff shot at this multi-million-dollar estate. And you are directing these scenes with incredible models here for this lifestyle story, and photographing this amazing, sequence here, but also filming it with aerial drones, as well as with the gimbals, and shooting with 8K cameras with 120 frames a second in 4K. So that's pretty cool. So tell me a little bit about the experience of filming video. Did you learn much with that? Is that something you want to do more of or offer more to your clients?
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, video has been on my list of things for a long time. I think it's hard to master without having somebody right there to really teach you. I find that for me, my brain has a hard time switching from photo to video and back and forth. So it was really great to get to work the gimbal, to learn, some of the techniques of getting the right video, the gimbal movements. I mean, that's a whole different thing. I mean, the drone was amazing. So I am really looking forward to incorporating more video into my work personally, and also to start to have that on my website and be able to share that with clients, because I know video is where everything is going. I mean, the photography will, of course, always be important, but I think one of the first things a prospective client looks at now is whether you have any kind of motion or can offer that to them. So I know it's important, and I really enjoy it. I think it would be a lot of fun to continue working in that and becoming more proficient. So.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned that, because you know what, Shannon, if you want to shoot those really big productions, oftentimes the clients, the ad agencies that will hire you, or the brands that will hire you to both do photography and video these days, because our cameras can do both. And a lot of times they want it to seamlessly work together. And, if you're shooting with the R5 or the R5C, and you've got a 45 megapixel camera that films in 8K, that's something that you can offer. It's something. And the great thing about it, Shannon, is it can massively increase the budget of your shoots. So oftentimes the budgets of video production shoots are typically like at least 3 times of a commercial photographic production. So if a photographic production might be $50,000 for the shoot, the video production of it might be $150,000. So it obviously depends on what you're shooting, but that just kind of gives you a little bit of an idea. And it's something that you now can offer, because the content you shot, I'm sending you, you gave me a hard drive, I'm sending you all the video content that you shot throughout the workshop. Then you can now use that for your master reel. And I do recommend you put this on the front page of your lifestyle portfolio website, so that when somebody comes to their website, they're just like, oh my gosh, like, wow, because that video is more impactful than just still photography. I mean, I'm a photographer and I love photography at heart, but I have to admit, video is more powerful.
Yeah, I 100% agree.
Yeah. And especially look how gorgeous this is. I mean, this was shot with a drone. This is shot with a drone in 4K at 120 frames a second, and it's razor sharp and it's beautiful. And it's something that I'm really excited for you to use this and to market this to your audience. And also even content like this, where it's content of you shooting, is also really valuable, so they can see the scale of the production.
Right. Yeah, that's really cool.
Yeah. Awesome, Shannon. And what would be your ideal clients going forward? Like for, for 2023 and 2024, what would be, why don't you tell us a little bit about your dream clients? I know that we did our one-on-one, we talked about Zimmerman, which by the way, we are featuring a bunch of Zimmerman dresses. Are there any other specific brands that would be like, the end all be all for you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I definitely still am very attracted to the more like fashion lifestyle brands, I guess I would call them. So the Zimmermans, Free People, Anthropology, who else is on my dream brand list? I mean, Ralph Lauren, the ones that really have that beautiful catalog of images that are shot, on location somewhere. I mean, that would be my dream. Spell the Gypsy. I mean, all of those type brands. So those are really my ideal clients right now. And but even shooting for, I think, a resort to be able to do, to incorporate some location stuff for a beach resort or a sunglass company. I mean, I would be all in for any of those, honestly. So
excellent. That's great. So going forward, you and I put together some really cool conceptualizing, developing your master portfolios, and what we talked about as your 40 image cohesive body of work. Where did we get to as far as how many final images do you have as far as individual scenes? And this is important. So we also talked about this, like individual scenes, meaning each page in your portfolio is a different wardrobe change and different sequence. So how many individual final master scenes do you have now at this point?
I think from this workshop alone, I have 15.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
15 that you and I picked out for my portfolio specifically. So none of them are repetitive.
That's fantastic. And as when we bring in photographic agents that speak about, basically how to master it in the industry, having that final master portfolio with 40 cohesive images, but also having at least 20 to 30 that are iconic. And to be honest, I mean, I can't remember the exact amount of iconic images, but I think there's at least like 10 iconic images in there. And from one, just a few days of shooting, that's incredible to have that many iconic images. And that's what I'm really, really proud of you about, is having that many iconic images at that level. So next steps for you is going to be marketing, right? And it's marketing these images and then continuing to build this master portfolio. You've got France that you're going to add to it and create more of the fashion brand. And then you've got now this commercial lifestyle content that's really, really world-class. And we even shot a few fashion stories at this one too, which was pretty fantastic, that line up with Zimmerman. So we can really showcase that to those brands directly. And that's something that I know, Shannon, if you have the opportunity to showcase content with their brand to that client, it's going to be more likely for them to land you to land that job because it's specific to that brand. So anyway, so thank you so much for jumping on and showcasing all this incredible work, because your work is absolutely stunning, and I'm really proud of how far you've come. And you're already an L published photographer, and now you've even gone to a whole new level. I can't wait to see what's going to happen, after France, after the masterclass. It's going to be seeing you at an even higher level of success. So thank you so much for coming on, and I really appreciate you being a part of all of this.
Thanks for having me on.
Excellent. All right, guys. So that was awesome to have Shannon on. She's a brilliant photographer and very, very talented in what she's doing already. I'm really, really impressed at how far she's come, and she's already successful along the way. But we do open up these experiences to all different levels of photographers, whether you are very experienced or whether you are new. We can help, you guys on every step of the way. Now, if you guys haven't done it already, in the chat, there's I put in there a link to set up a one-on-one strategy session with one of my elite photographic consultants. And I know many of you guys, especially if you've attended workshops before or you've attended a bunch of these webinars, that you've had this experience. But you know what? Still, I recommend you guys jump on, schedule one of these. What's great about this, it's totally free, and it's a one-on-one mastermind session. So instead of just jumping on and listening to these webinars, it's something where it's one-on-one to you, personalized. One of my team can actually help you. It's totally free. give you guidance, mentorship, and coaching along the way. And the reason that I've been offering that for the last 14 years is guidance and mentorship absolutely free is because I'm a strong believer that we need to work together in the photographic industry. And we need to create world-class content, and we need to take it up to the next level and not just compete with other photographers and worry about competing on price and, and cost, but competing on value, competing on world-class quality of your work, competing on being the best photographer out there and not really worrying about the competition of others and trying to just, throw something at the wall and hope that it sticks. Our photographic consultants can help you, can guide you, can work with you personally, whether you're going over and you want to do an image review with them where they sit down one-on-one on Zoom and go through your images together, or whether you want to come up with a business strategy plan, which is what we did at an even higher level with Shannon, where after her photographic workshop experience, we did a one-on-one where it was her and I in person going in depth about the business of her photography, which was also really, really fantastic right after that workshop. And we came up with a strategy plan that's going to help take her to that next level, which I'm really excited about. And it will give you that guidance, that coaching, that mentorship. And these mastermind sessions, they're totally free. So why not take advantage of them? And also, if you guys are interested in taking these experiences, definitely let us know. We would love to have you a part of it and help grow and develop your photography, whether you're doing it full time, whether you're doing it on the side, whether you're doing it as a passion, or whether you're doing it as a career. We're here to help you guys because we want to see you succeed. Okay, so and also, if you have any questions, please ask them in the Q&A. I do love hearing questions and answering you guys. That's absolutely a whole part of this. Now, I want to get to the next secret of photographic mastery with my process. So we talked about conceptualizing the shoot. The next thing is producing a shoot and how to make it all happen. Okay. Now, I know we talked a little bit about how grand that is and how big that is, and we're showing, behind the scenes video and aerial shots and stuff like that. But to make that all happen, this is very challenging. Okay. Producing a shoot at this scale, it takes weeks and weeks and weeks of preparation. It takes me a ton of time, a ton of man hours. And I've been doing this for my entire career, for 20 years as a photographer. So for me, I already have the relationships and connections, but if you don't already have the relationships and connections, it's going to be a lot more challenging. But I am going to, reveal to you some of my tips and strategies of how to make that happen. Okay. So first of all, one of the cool ways of finding amazing locations, incredible spots, just like, we're seeing here, and I'll play back this video like this one. One of the strategies I do is, if you want to go to a fabulous estate and not have to hassle with film permits, but have a really great location like this, where you are, you've got bathroom facilities, you got to think about, hey, if it rains, what happens? We have an overhang here. This one also happens to have a jacuzzi, a pool, has an ice maker, a barbecue, has all kinds of cool amenities, and it's a massive, massive house on a massive amount of acreage. So we have a lot of space. But I'm thinking about this now. The way to achieve this, one of the techniques I do is I go on like Sotheby's or some of the most premier real estate agents, and I start, whether I'm looking up on Zillow or I'm researching through the most high profile real estate agents in the country. And what I do is I start emailing them and I start calling them and I'll start text messaging them, and I'll have a huge database, and I'll do this for literally almost every production. I'll have a database of these, I might contact, say, 50 different listings, and you want to speak to the listing agent that's representing it. And I'm going to pitch them. I'm going to be like, hey, you got this amazing location, and I'd like to pay you, and I'd like to film and photograph some world-class content at your location, and that you can use for your marketing. So I have a whole email, a presentation that I send. I also include, of course, I happen to be a TV host and director of the travel show Great Escapes, so that helps build my profile. So that when they look at it, they're like, oh, wow, it's a travel show and you go to 5-star resorts like Ritz-Carlton. Okay, cool. Yeah, you're going to be, I would love to have you come and shoot here. Right now, of course, it's also a production. So you've got models and stylists and 20, 30 people on set. So you have to make sure they're okay with that. But essentially, I offer them payment plus I shoot content. Now, this is going to save you a lot of money, because if you try to go through a location scout, or you try to book this, try to find locations that normally do shoots and productions, you're going to look at anywhere from, at the very, very low end, you're going to look at like 6,000 a day, all the way up to like 30,000 a day. Depends on the location, if you're going for premier locations. Okay. So, but for a location like this, it's typically 10 to 20,000 a day per day. Right. So that gets really expensive. Obviously, most photographers aren't going to foot the bill for that. So this is a solution that helps me produce these epic shoots in mass scale, but not have to spend $30,000 a day doing it. Right. So with just the location fees. So this is a great solution. Now, that's not easy. Now, a lot of these real estate agents don't want to talk to you. So you have to, be ready to have a lot of rejection, be ready to deal with a lot of, a lot of rude people and stuff like that too. Depends on the location. But when I'm contacting ones in New York, I deal with a lot of difficult people, but this is a great way of doing it. And it's one of the ways in which I have found these unbelievable properties, incredible properties. I'm really, really excited about the kind of, places that we've had. I mean, multi-million-dollar places. We even, our production manager, Priscilla Evans, worked with me on this, and we were able to secure this $40 million mansion in Greenwich, Connecticut, at our New York fashion experience, and that was absolutely mind-blowing. It was, seeking out these ultra luxury properties and then getting them and convincing them to allow us to shoot there. And a place like this, it's something where not only would be incredibly, outrageously expensive to book, but this location, they don't even use it for shoots. They only open it up once per year for a garden club and no one else, and we're the only other people they allowed, but we talked them into it. So this is one of the things, getting these premier locations. That's something that obviously I have a lot of experience with, and I can I've done this for a long time, and I've been able to achieve that. And now, or of course, I've been also very fortunate that I've been successful as a TV director and photographer, and I've been able to buy my own locations as well. So obviously shooting at the French Castle, and when you have your own location, we literally can do anything we want there, because it's a 49-room castle on 12 acres of property, and we can shoot anything we want with no restrictions. Of course, that's the most ideal. But obviously, at all these other locations around the country, in America, we're essentially building relationships and then allowing us to shoot there. So that's some strategies and tips. The next thing is, guys, one of the things I want you guys to always remember with producing is making sure that all the details are there for your shoot. Meaning that, first of all, before I even book that location, I am going to book my wardrobe stylist. Okay. Wardrobe stylist is more important than anything. And a lot of photographers think, oh no, it's about the photography, or oh no, it's about my lighting or my cameras or even the location. Trust me. None of that matters if you don't have world-class fashion styling. It doesn't even matter. It's not even relevant if you don't have a world-class stylist. And if you don't have a stylist, or your styling falls through, you don't have a photo shoot. Okay. So you've got to have world-class styling. And creating photographic mastery, this is a big part of it, is building relationships with stylists, like stylists at Style for Vogue, like the stylist we used on this one at this $40 million mansion, and building connections with them. Now, there's a few ways to do that. I recommend going through stylists at agencies. That way they are responsible to the agency, and you're going to have probably less problems with them. But that being said, I've worked with literally hundreds of fashion stylists in my career. I don't even know how many, probably 300 to 400 fashion stylists in my entire career. And I have only liked maybe 4 in my entire career. So they're hard to deal with. They are challenging people, and oftentimes it gets very expensive. So you've got to work with as many as you can until you find the right ones that you want to book all the time. And luckily, at that Virginia experience that Shannon attended, I worked with this amazing stylist, Kathy, that I've worked with now for many years, and I've booked her on multiple productions. And because she always follows through and is incredible, I trust her, and I know that the wardrobe is going to be on point. And that's very, very important to have that styling, world class, because if you don't have your stylist, you don't have a photo shoot. And guys, that is something producing, making sure your stylist also is pulling new wardrobe. A lot of times stylists aren't going to, they're going to go cheap unless you have this massive budget, and they're going to pull stuff from their own closet. They're going to pull stuff that's not in season. They're going to pull, and when I say pull, I mean like collect it, wardrobe that's not really what you want. You want the best of the best stuff. And if they don't have that, then your photo shoot is going to fall apart. That's why, having styling like you see here is really important. Having world-class stuff that literally this was pulled for a Vogue shoot that was happening the following week, and we actually got to use it at our workshop, which is really cool. So, wardrobe styling is key. On top of that, though, because I don't trust that the stylist will follow through, because I've been doing this a long time, and on top of that, I also personally, on my own credit card, order between $30,000 and $40,000 worth of wardrobe on top of that for every single photo shoot that I do. Every single shoot, without fail. Even if it's like a 1 day or 2 day shoot, I still will order, at least $30,000 worth of wardrobe. And how I do that is I have high balance credit cards. I highly recommend each and every one of you get a 0% interest credit card. Every single person that's a photographer should have a very high limit on their credit cards. If you can have like a $50,000 limit, that's ideal. I would say a minimum of a $20,000 limit. But if you don't do that, or you don't use credit cards for some reason, you need to start, because you can't be successful as a photographer, especially shooting high-end fashion commercial advertising, without a high limit credit card. It just won't work. Because I'll tell you why. If you are producing a shoot and say you need to buy $30,000 worth of wardrobe, I don't want to take that out of my checking account. That's ridiculous. I want to put that on a credit card. And there's huge benefits to that, right? It's a lot safer. It's a lot easier. And also it's going to be easier with the returns. Always put it on a credit card. So if you guys don't already have a 0% credit card, or at least a credit card with a high limit, highly recommend you guys get one immediately. That I personally love the Bank of America small business credit cards. They're fantastic. Also, the American Express ones. I have like a $52,000 limit on my American Express Platinum business card. Fantastic. And that way I can buy those clothes, have them delivered to that location, use them for the shoot, pack them back up, ship them back. Okay. So that's kind of, how we do it, but it takes a lot of time and energy. And obviously there's risk, because I'm buying all the clothes. I hope they don't get damaged. Right. So there's a lot of risk on my back, but it's still worth it, because as you guys can tell, the scale and the quality of these productions is pretty freaking next level. It's world-class. And because of that, the images are iconic. Because of that, the images get published on every shoot. Because of that, the images are winning awards. Next thing is with producing, guys, also make sure that you have great catering. Okay. I know this sounds silly, but if you don't have amazing catering, then you are going to, probably frustrate your models and staff. So that's something that I do recommend investing in. Catering can be very expensive, but I would recommend contacting several catering companies, getting quotes, getting for, exactly what you need for the shoot and for enough people. I'm usually catering for like 25 to 30 people on set. And it gets expensive, but when when everybody can, break for lunch and have this beautiful, delicious spread with, salmon and skewers and, having brisket, and then they have salads and they have vegan options. They have all these different things, all at their fingertips. Very important, because everyone's happy. And when those models are happy, the stylists are happy, I tell you what, you're going to have a much better shoot. You're going to have a much better experience, and everything is going to be a lot more professional. So catering is key. And also I recommend, you have the things with sternos, have extra sternos, relight them after the first hour or two, because they're probably going to go out, and you want to have that food continuously there available, because sometimes you're in the middle of a shoot and I'm photographing this model, and she hasn't eaten yet. And then when we finally break and then we photograph the next model, well, that other model needs to go back and have, have food and relax and stuff before she gets styled in the next outfit. So all these things are really important. And I know they might sound more trivial to you, but they're absolutely vital to making the production world-class. Also little things. I also make sure that I don't even drink coffee, but believe it or not, 'cause I have a lot of energy, but I always, I rack up like $200 a day in coffee spend on my photo shoots, because I get everybody at the shoot coffee. And sometimes we do multiple runs on the same day. That's a big deal. People like their Starbucks, right? I'm making sure the models have it in the morning. The stylists, if it's at a workshop, the other photographers, everybody on set needs to feel happy and feel good and feel taken care of. All very important. So these are all little things, but they add up to be really, really important things when you're producing a shoot and making all this magic happen. Of course, the equipment is vitally important. I often, what I do is when I travel around the world, I bring with me certain gear, and then the rest of the gear I rent it at the location. So for instance, there's a lot of rental houses that rent photography equipment that don't rent 8x8 foot scrims. Okay, 8x8 foot scrim gyms. These are the giant scrims, and you've seen them in some of the videos that I had on here. These are scrims that go overhead, and they essentially diffuse the light, or we use them as bounces. This is actually a little video from what we just shot in Miami last month. This shows you an idea of what that scrim looks like. It's a 1 1/4 stop scrim on an 8x8 foot scrim gym cine. So I bring this equipment everywhere I go, believe it or not. I bring the frames and the silks with me, that 8x8 footer. I bring like 3 8x8 footers and a 6x6 footer everywhere I go worldwide, no matter where I go, whether it's filming in the Maldives, whether I'm shooting in France at my castle, whether I'm shooting in New York or Miami or LA or Virginia. I bring this everywhere. I have it all in a snowboard bag, like a Burton snowboard bag, packed up, and it's all exactly 50 pounds with all my frames, my silks, my bounces, and then also the clamps to go with it. And it just goes with me as a check bag everywhere I go. And the reason I do that is because they're vitally important, but they also are not very easy to rent in a lot of places. Most rental houses do not carry this specific item, or they might only have one. And I want to have 3. I want to have enough production equipment at all times, and I want to have the right stuff. So this is something I bring. I also bring, of course, my cameras. And now, of course, for these workshops, I usually bring at least 5 cameras with me, but if it was just be by myself, I would probably bring probably 3. And the reason being is I like to have backups, and also if I'm filming, if you're filming with a Canon R5, they can overheat, so I recommend having a backup R5. Or shoot it with an R5C, which doesn't overheat. So for instance, I have 2 R5s, 2 R5Cs, and then 2 5D Mark IVs, and I bring those with me, and I have lenses for all of them. So I have my camera gear, and I recommend my lenses being the 16-35 or 17-40. So wide angle lens, 16-35, 24-70, and then my 70-200. And those would be my recommended lenses. That would be strongly suggested for you guys for all of your photo shoots. If you have those 3 lenses, you should essentially have everything you need as far as focal length. So with equipment, all of the other things such as the C-stands, the sandbags, I usually rent about 25 sandbags. I'll rent usually like about 8 to 10 C-stands and combo stands, which are the giant stands actually that you see here. These are 2 combo stands with arms and clamps, and I usually rent that at the location that I'm at, whether it's Miami or New York or wherever. And in a place like Miami, you also notice I have a cart, so I'm bringing the stuff on the sand. My assistants are, and having a cart to haul it. One thing I also recommend is many of you guys don't shoot with assistants. Got to have assistants, guys. I always bring on at least 3 to 4 photo assistants with me on every photo shoot. And I think it's really, really, really important, especially handling all that big, heavy gear. One is a safety issue, so nobody gets hurt, that stuff doesn't blow over or something falls or whatever. And 2, just because it's a lot of work and you need extra people on set. So, and I recommend having some strong photo assistants that can help you. And if you don't have them, have like your kids or your husband or your friends or whatever come and help you. If you can't afford an assistant or whatever, but I do recommend hiring photo assistants. It will make your life a lot easier. Trust me. And you can never have enough. So I always try to hire as many as I can. So that is really, really important. Okay. So I also wanted to answer a few of your guys' questions. So Catherine asks, how are you taking off tags, wearing and returning? You used to be able to do that, but not so much today. So Catherine, glad you asked. This is a wardrobe question. when I am buying and returning, there's a method to this. First of all, you don't want to buy it in stores. Okay, that's the biggest mistake. You never, ever, ever want to buy clothes in stores. The reason is because the managers of the stores get really upset and they try to not let you return things. And you're going to run into a lot more problems if you're trying to do it at a store, because it'll show up as a loss while that manager's on duty. It'll show up as like a buy, and then maybe you return it and the next manager's on and it looks like, oh, they just lost a bunch of money that day. So they don't like to do it and they're going to give you a hard time. Okay, so just as a suggestion, I recommend not buying in stores. It used to be that's what people would do, but there's just so many problems now with it that I definitely don't recommend buying in stores. It's just going to create a lot more issues. So buy things online. That's what I recommend. Whether it's Nordstrom, whether it's Neiman Marcus, whether it's Macy's, they generally have really good return policies. Always keep the tags on. I mean, all these outfits all had their own, had all the tags on. And what a good wardrobe stylist does is they style it, but then they make sure that the tags are hidden. The tags are tucked. If these girls turned around, you'd see all kinds of tags and clamps and stuff all behind them. So they're always tucked and they're out of place. Now, there are some garments where maybe the tag, you absolutely have to remove it to shoot with. And I would be very careful of doing that. But if you have a good stylist, you can always remove the tag and take a tag gun and re-tag it afterwards. So that's what I would do. But I rarely do that. We almost always shoot with the tags on. That way you have less worry, and they'll always return it because they have no way of, saying no. It's a new garment. It has a tag on it. They have to return it. And when you mail them back in, it just goes to a warehouse anyway. All they do is just scan it. They don't even really, check if it's been worn or not. So, I mean, I never have issues when I'm buying and returning from these certain department stores or Amazon or, Free People is a lot harder. They're a lot harder to deal with, but I love their clothes. So I deal with them a lot as well. But the wardrobe on this is absolutely beautiful. And we're using, Shannon was talking about how she wants to shoot for Love Shack Fancy or Spell the Gypsy or Zimmerman. And we incorporated all of those brands into the shoot, as well as Camilla, which, has these, $1,500 dresses as well. So incredible wardrobe, and it makes all the difference in the world. I mean, this wardrobe is next level. So, but great questions. And it looks like, Kenneth asks, what about a DIT for the crew? So a DIT, so Kenneth is probably referring to somebody that is handling like the tech, handling the, whether the data transfers, handling the memory cards, handling the digital aspect. So that definitely you can bring those on. I personally don't. I just don't feel like it's really necessary. I mean, unless you have a huge campaign and you've got a budget for that, I might. But otherwise, for most shoots, I do it myself. I don't know. I have a thing about it. I want to make sure that I've never lost an image in 20 years. I've never had a hard drive go bad where I didn't have it backed up, or I didn't have a memory card that got lost. I've never lost an image, and it's because I take care of it myself. And I just have a thing about that. I feel like I don't want to put that in someone else's hands. I'd rather take care of the images myself. And also, I'm shooting with large enough memory cards, Kenneth, 512 gigabyte memory cards, that I rarely ever need to change the cards. I would say the only time would be if I'm filming with the 8K camera, we're shooting, or 120 frames a second at 4K, that might burn through a card. But other than that, photographing, you should never have to change a card in a day. You should be able to photograph throughout the day. And at the end of the day, just, upload or download your content to a hard drive. I do recommend though, Kenneth, always backing that up to a backup hard drive. And then if you have it, maybe back that one up to another hard drive. I have everything in duplicate or triplicate. I have probably 56 hard drives sitting here in my office. And I also highly recommend, I really like the Western Digital ones that have the, I mean, of course, if you have digital, if you have solid state, that's gonna be the best, but they're very expensive. So if otherwise, like the 14 terabyte Western Digital hard drives that have an external power source tend to be very durable. I mean, I have, of those alone, I probably have like 46 of those. And they never seem to fail. They're fantastic. But that would be my recommendation. And of course, I have a lot of content because I've been doing this for a long time and shooting a lot of cool stuff. So, all right. And as far as, these are great questions though, and I'd love to if you guys have any other questions, feel free to ask them. The next thing I wanted to get to was we talked about conceptualizing shoot. We talked about producing. I want to talk a little bit about casting. Okay. Now, casting models is hard to do for a number of reasons. First of all, because we don't always have access to the top models in the world, right? I mean, if you don't live in LA or New York or Miami, you're not really going to be in a market where you've got the best models in the world, right? And if you don't have the best models, I kind of think, what's the point? Especially if you're building a portfolio for fashion or commercial, lifestyle, or you're doing anything commercially, you've got to have top talent. So if you're living in a market that's not, essentially LA, New York, or sometimes Miami because it's seasonal, but I would say LA or New York, you've got to be able to cast models from those big major areas. And I recommend flying them in. Personally, that's what I do. So, we shot this in Virginia, world-class locations, unbelievable places, shooting with, equestrian polo fields and all this stuff. But the models aren't up to par. And in fact, I didn't hire a single model or in this area. So not a single model. I flew everybody in. I had 5 models that I flew in from LA, New York, Miami. And I wanted to make sure that, I'm bringing in top talent. So when I'm casting, I'm looking for models, if it's for lifestyle, for instance, I'm looking for models that have expressions, that are fun, that have energy. And like these models, for instance, Hannah, and we also had this amazing model, Ronnie, who's also a big influencer. They have great energy. They have great emotion. So a little secret with casting is, first of all, you have to have a world-class portfolio. If you don't have that world-class portfolio, then you're never going to be able to cast top models. It just isn't going to work. The top modeling agencies aren't going to work with you. But if you can showcase, content like this that you're looking at now, or content like this, where you have world-class top fashion models and big production shoots, if you have content like this, it'll open up all your doors. And that's one of the biggest reasons Photography Workshop Series, our photographers have a 95% re-enrollment rate. It's because they keep coming back because they're like, oh my gosh, you have access to the best models in the world. Oh my gosh, you have access to the best locations. The cost of producing something like this is $100,000 a day. I think I'm just going to come and take a workshop for a tiny fraction of that and shoot the greatest images of my life and let you guys take care of all that, right? So that's a big advantage. But if you do want to do it on your own, I do recommend coming to one of these experiences first to build this body of work. Once you do that, you can now use this content to go to those modeling agencies and get those modeling agencies to give you their best models. But otherwise, they're not going to, right? And, maybe if you lure them in with ridiculously high model fees and pay them, $10,000 a day. But if you don't have that budget, then I recommend, you got to build the book first. You got to build it. It's got to be world-class, and it can't just be good photography. It has to be iconic photography with world-class models, world-class stylists, the best of the best of the best. And that is going to open up all of the doors. It's going to transform everything for you. It's building your photographic currency. So if it's a fashion model, I'm looking more for bone structure like this. If it's in height, I want it typically 5'9", 5'10", 5'11", somewhere in there for female models. Typically size 0 to 2 for fashion. And also the models my ideal is more of that European strong bone structure look, or if they're another ethnicity, if we're casting for African Americans, which I do a lot of, or Asian or Latina, which I also have done a lot of in the past. I'm just making sure that they have the right bone structure in their face, and also that they are they're going to fit in the clothes really, really well that we're going to use. So I think that's really important. So when we're casting models, I'm looking for mostly how the light is going to be bouncing off their face. Really, that's the key. And a model like this, no matter what angle you're shooting at, she looks amazing. Valena, she's a model from Vogue, and she's world class. She's amazing. So when you're shooting with models like this, it really does take you to that next level, or this girl who had been in the Versace campaign. So, but it really makes a difference. And this was shot at our workshop by David Gesfrick, actually, who's attending on this webinar right now. But if it's fashion, I'm looking for more of those traits. If it's lifestyle, it's totally different for lifestyle. I think that if it's a lifestyle shoot, the kind of content that that we're looking for. We're looking for happy, healthy people having fun and enjoying life and having this amazing experience. So I'm going to be looking for models that can interact, models that can move, models that smile, models that are funny, models that have a personality. And the only way to know that is oftentimes their model portfolios don't really showcase that very well, because generally model portfolios tend to show more of the fashion stuff. So I like to research them. I like to look at their Instagram, their YouTube. You know, I'm looking up their different social platforms, and I'm trying to, you know, even their TikTok, and I want to find out what's their personality like. And with these models, you know, I found out that these models had great fun and funny personalities, and that's why I cast them. That's why I booked them. And a model like Hannah, she's literally what I call a push button model. You literally just push a button and Hannah will be bouncing up and down and smiling for 8 to 10 hours straight. And she just does everything for you. You know, it's so easy. And that, of course, makes posing a lot easier. Or on the flip side, you know, if you're shooting fashion, you know, shooting with models that are amazing at posing, like this incredible model, Adelina, or shooting with this top model, Elena, all, you know, literally they'll just pose for you, and you're just capturing what they're doing, which is pretty amazing. Unusual, but it's something where I'm looking for, you know, oftentimes I have to direct it, but I do love it when a model knows how to move, knows how to pose, and if it's a lifestyle model, has a great smile and great energy. So that's what I'm looking for. I often will cast from 10 to 15 modeling agencies. So I'll reach out. I have kind of a form message that I contact all the modeling agencies with. And then I'm approaching them with basically what I'm looking for, what the rate is, how many days, and then also what the inspiration is, inspirational Pinterest board, and what the theme is, and then what is the usage? Is it going to be for editorial? Is it going to be for commercial advertising? Is it going to be for television? What's the usage, and or social media, whatever? And I send that to them, and then they come back to me with what we call a package of models, and then I go through and select from the packages that the modeling agency sent, and based upon that, I make my selections. I make, you know, say they send me, you know, 30 models at each agency, then I'll, out of those 30 models, I will make my selections of, hey, I really love these 3 girls. What's their availability? And then we confirm them from there. And generally when we're doing that, you have good luck. Like, if, you know, when I book models with modeling agencies, I would say, you know, they show up on time, and they will always be there and give their all. I would say at least 95 to 97% of the time. So I've had very good success with casting models from top modeling agencies. Top modeling agencies include Elite, Wilhelmina, Vision, Ford, IMG, Aston, Select Models. Those would all be, you know, some of the model, you know, the great modeling agencies, or New York Models, LA Models. Those are all great agencies. So I'm going to be casting from a huge swath of them to then narrow it down to the best of the best of the best models that I want to use for the shoot. And then I'm going to be selecting them, of course, also based on the story. You know, are they going to be better for swim? Are they going to be better for lifestyle? Are they going to be better for fashion? And each, you know, shoot that I'm doing is very different. So I have to cast them accordingly. And then I have to dress them accordingly. So my wardrobe stylist, of course, does that, but I'm also directing my wardrobe stylist as far as how I want them to dress them, what looks are going to look best on camera for each model. Okay. All right. So the next would be, you know, we talked about casting. And coordinating the models. The next is coordinating details. We went in depth about that earlier, all the little details of, you know, making sure that the models arrive. If I'm booking flights for them, they got the hotel room ready for them. We've got the catering ready. We've got all the details prepared so that the shoot flows smoothly. This is really important because you can't have all this money and investment put into this and then everything just kind of collapses. Everything has to be flawless. Very, very important. Everything needs to be coordinated really, really in depth and detailed. And then as far as working with models and art directing them, that's where kind of the real magic happens, to be honest. That's where a lot of photographers struggle, and a lot of photographers run into shooting scenes that just kind of look boring. And I want scenes that are energizing. I want scenes that are unbelievable. I want scenes that are iconic and spectacular and that are going to completely wow and dazzle the audience, and I want to create what we call photographic mastery. That's really what this is about, is photographic mastery at a really high level. So art directing those scenes, art directing the models so that they're giving you the best looks. They're giving you the best expressions. They're giving you the right energy. They have these moments that you're capturing. And what I like to do is I like to create a moment. I like to art direct a moment. I like to explain it to the models. And then I want that moment to essentially unfold and then capture that spectacular moment exactly how I intended it. And then maybe I take it a step further. As far as, oh my gosh, like I had this vision and I have a posing guide. Even I often get like a Pinterest board of a posing guide and I bring it on set. Sometimes I even bring it, like in Miami when I was shooting this. This was at our Miami Beach workshop. We not only are I'm not only coming up with ideas, but I'm also have a printed out posing guide, and I'm literally looking at the posing guide as we're shooting, and I'm showing that to the model, whether it's on your phone or an iPad or it's on a printed out piece of paper. But I'm showing that to the model so that they are like, oh my gosh, all right, that's the pose you want. Okay, I'm gonna get into it. And I do recommend that you as a photographer are going to be, the most, you're going to be very directorial. I think that that's really important. And I think that a lot of photographers struggle being directorial, meaning they want to sit back and just capture stuff. And I want to make sure that you're not just doing that, but that you're participating, that you are involved in the scene, and you are creating these scenes and you're directing those models, because those models, they want to be directed. They want to be directed. They want you to essentially tell them how you want them to be. Otherwise, they're going to struggle. They're not going to know. And I want to make sure you guys are commanding that set and being authoritative. And that's something that, of course, we can learn at the photography workshop series in person, because that's something I can teach you to do. It's very, very important. But it's art directing those scenes and making sure that, you want to be very respectful, and you want to be very likable, and you want to be very fun and relaxed, and them to trust you. But you also need to tell them what to do so that they do it. They do it for you. And they actually want that. Models want to be directed. They want you to coach them, because otherwise they're just standing there and they don't know what it looks like. And then they feel insecure. So I want to make sure they feel good and they feel like, you know what you're doing. So, and even if you don't, at least act like you do and make sure that you're directing those models in a scene that makes sense. And then maybe not spending too much time doing the same sequence. Have them move through it and keep adjusting and keep coming up with new ideas and stuff like that is also helpful, so they don't get flat while shooting on set. I like them to feel good about themselves. I also generally don't like to show them the back of my camera unless the image is like iconic. If the image is so ridiculous that it's going to get them more excited about the shoot, then I'll show it to them. Otherwise, I just keep shooting and I keep giving them praise and excitement and making them feel good about themselves so that they want to keep going. And I do think that's important. That way, it doesn't slow down the production. I don't like it when, photographers are showing every other scene. They're showing the models what they're shooting, because it slows down the whole production. And it's like, who cares? You're not shooting it for them. You're shooting it for the client and for you, right? So the models are there to help you execute that. All right. But casting models is absolutely key. And this is one of the coolest things about the photography workshop series, is that I have access to the best models in the world. I cast from the top agencies. We bring in the best of the best of the best. Whether it's in Miami and we're shooting with models from Sports Illustrated, Victoria's Secret, models from the Guest campaign, major influencers, even celebrity models. To me, I want to have you guys have access to the best of the best of the best. So I provide that experience in person at the workshop series. So, all these epic experiences are going to completely transform what you're doing in your photographic career and help you achieve greatness. But anyway, so casting is important, and it all starts with that photographic portfolio, which we went over with Shannon, creating that unbelievable content that wows and dazzles the competition, because the content is so strong now that Shannon can completely knock the socks off of anybody that, comes to her and that she shows it to, because now there's just like, oh my gosh, like, all right, like you're the real deal. I'm really excited. I want to work with you, Shannon. Yeah, that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. We want the clients to feel that way. And then I would say the last of it is selecting the best pictures, which of course, This is funny enough, kind of hard for a lot of people to do, but it's selecting the best of the best pictures. And, you know, and after the workshops, for instance, you know, after the thousands of pictures that you photograph, we recommend that you narrow that down to the top 40 images each day. And then one of our photographic consultants will help guide you and select the best of the best images from there, because you only need one image per scene for a final publication. And and a lot of times photographers choose way too many. So we only need one image per scene. So we're going to go through those images and we're going to try to select the ones that we feel are like, okay, you know, these are all awesome images. These are your best ones. And then from there, what are the best of the best? And there's all the little nuances. And of course, part of it is also, you know, what do you think is best? You know, is it the right expression? Is it the right moment? Is it right for the clients you're going for? So, you know, here are Shannon's images from her larger selection. And, you know, you go through and you're looking through the images to find out, you know, which one is the best moment, right? And I think we did a pretty good job selecting our favorites, you know, the number one scene or number one shot from each scene. But there's a lot of great ones to choose from, but it's, you know, making sure all the models are working together in the right moment, not like one model having a bad expression and the other models having a great expression. We want to make sure all of them are. And then also all the animals, you know, if you have animals in the scene, making sure that the animals are in the right moment, making sure that all the details come together. And then, you know, we find the best one, and then we find the scene that totally rocks it and is going to be the best shot for, you know, for the sequence. But that's really, really important, is the selection of images and selecting them more so on what the end goal publication or client is looking for and what's going to be the best for it, rather than just like, oh yeah, I like that one or I don't like that one. I like to kind of put a third-party hat on, and I like to see it from maybe what a photo editor would see from a magazine, how a photo editor would interpret it, and not just my own bias. So I'm pretty good at doing that myself, but a lot of photographers struggle with that, with putting that third-party, you know, hat on. And it's even worse if, like, say you have a portfolio that you're curating, and some of your images are of people that you know or care about, and you have a personal connection to them, but maybe those images don't belong in your portfolio. But you've got to be hard, and you've got to be completely objective and say, oh, but you know what? Is that person a supermodel, or are they not? Do they deserve to be in that portfolio, or maybe they don't? Okay, well, if they don't deserve to be in that portfolio, then gut it. And even if you're a portrait photographer or a wedding photographer, I also don't recommend using normal people in your portfolio. I recommend booking models and doing shoots with models to show the best of the best of the best version of what it could be for that, you know, for a wedding or for a portrait. So that's my recommendation. So even if you are a portrait or wedding photographer, make sure to show world-class top talent that is wearing wedding dresses or wearing, yeah, you know, or dress as portrait scene. So, like, for instance, this is a model in a wedding dress that I'm showcasing at my castle, and this is something that I would do if I were you, if you are a wedding or portrait photographer, is showcasing something like this, because you're now competing with all the, you know, the brides every day are looking at, you know, bridal covers of bridal magazines, and you know what? That's what you're competing with. So unless your content looks like it's a celebrity or a top model, it's probably you're not gonna be able to compete at that high level and book a $10,000 or $20,000 wedding photography gig for a wedding. So, you know, and it's the same thing that goes for portraits. So I do recommend bringing in top talent, even for portraits and weddings, no matter who you are, no matter what you're doing. And this is one recommendation with the photography workshop series is great, because we give you that opportunity to create, you know, amazing content with top talent, whether you are a portrait photographer, commercial photographer, you know, whatever you do. That's you know, that's really, really important. So, all right, guys, we had an amazing panelist on today, the great Shannon Bright. We've had a lot of incredible photographers join us today, and I'm really, really, really excited about what we have going forward. And with the French Castle, with the Elite Masterclass, with our New York high fashion productions. And if you guys want to get involved in any of these, most of them are almost sold out. And this is the last chance to get involved in the French Castle, for instance. And it's the very, very last shot, the very, very last spot in the New York workshop. Otherwise, that one's sold out. So if you guys are interested, I'd love to have you there, see you there, and work with you personally to create the greatest images you've ever shot in your lifetime, and to create content that is achieving photographic mastery. Thank you guys so much, and I can't wait to work with you in person.